All right, let's slow this down and really unpack what those two recently surfaced images of the Avatar 360 are telling us, because they're doing far more than just confirming that the drone exists. These are not glossy, idealized renders designed to spark hype or shape perception. They look like practical, real-world shots of a finished product, and that distinction matters more than most people realize. When leaks shift from conceptual visuals to mundane, almost boring reality shots, it usually means the design phase is complete. Companies don't casually allow unfinished hardware to be photographed like this, especially not companies as tightly controlled as DJI. What we're seeing feels resolved, deliberate, and final, not exploratory or experimental. Earlier leaks already hinted that this drone wasn't trying to choose between being a traditional FPV drone or a dedicated 360 capture platform, but instead was aiming to exist somewhere in the space between those two worlds. These new images don't rewrite that narrative, but they do something arguably more important. They show just how seriously DJI is committing to that balance, and how intentional every design decision appears to be once you look closely enough. At first glance, the frame feels familiar, almost comfortingly so. There's obvious cinewhoop DNA here, with compact proportions, enclosed prop guards, and that understated neutral gray finish that DJI has leaned into heavily in recent years. It doesn't scream experimental or concept. It looks like something you'd pull out of a retail box tomorrow. But once you move past the surface-level familiarity, a handful of subtle details begin to completely reframe how this drone should be understood. One of the most telling details is the propeller mounting system. These props are screwed on, not push-on, and while that might sound like a minor technical choice, it actually reveals a lot about DJI's priorities. This isn't about convenience or even durability. Screwed props lock into the exact same position every single flight, and for a platform carrying a 360 camera, that level of repeatability is critical. Tiny variations in prop alignment can introduce slight changes in airflow, vibration patterns, and harmonic resonance, all of which are invisible to the pilot but painfully obvious to a 360 camera that captures everything. Stitching artifacts, micro-jitters, and subtle warping often come from inconsistencies like this. By choosing screwed props, DJI is sacrificing quick swaps in favor of consistency, and that tells us this drone is being designed first and foremost as a capture tool, not a freestyle toy. Then there are the ducts. Instead of being fully sealed, the prop guards are vented at the top, which allows heat to escape more efficiently, improves internal airflow, and reduces pressure buildup inside the frame. That matters for electronics longevity, but it also plays a huge role in how air moves through and around the drone. Smoother airflow means less turbulence, and turbulence is exactly the kind of thing a 360 camera exaggerates mercilessly. What looks like nothing to the naked eye becomes swirling distortion once it's wrapped into a spherical image. Once again, the priority here clearly isn't raw speed or aggressive maneuvering. It's control, predictability, and clean output. When you combine the screwed-on props with the vented ducts, the intent becomes impossible to ignore. This is not a drone built to chase adrenaline. It's built to chase stability. That naturally brings us to FPV itself, and this is where expectations need to be adjusted. FPV doesn't feel like the core strength of this drone. Everything about the design points towards smooth, repeatable motion rather than sharp, reactive flying. This doesn't look like a platform designed for dives, power loops, or freestyle tricks. FPV feels like a feature you can use, not the reason the drone exists, even though Avatar remains part of the name. DJI seems to be positioning FPV here as a control method rather than a performance identity, which is a subtle but important distinction. Now look at the camera system, because this is where DJI appears to be doing something genuinely clever. From what we can see, the Avatar 360 uses a dual-lens setup, with one lens facing upward and one facing downward to capture a full spherical image. That part is expected. What's unexpected is how DJI seems to be handling non-360 footage. Instead of fixing the lenses in place and forcing all footage through a reframing workflow in post, the entire camera module appears to rotate roughly 90 degrees. When you want standard footage, one of those lenses physically becomes the forward-facing camera. That's a big shift in philosophy. Most 360 drones lock you into a single workflow, capture everything in 360, and decide later how to frame it. Here, DJI seems to be giving creators a choice while they're still in the air. You can shoot full 360 when you want that flexibility, and switch to a traditional camera perspective when you don't. That fundamentally changes how this drone can be used, especially for creators who don't want every shot to involve post-production gymnastics. The controller design reinforces this idea. It closely resembles DJI's recent RC lineup, and the live feed shown on its screen doesn't look like a stitched sphere or a reframed 360 preview. It looks like a clean, conventional camera feed, which strongly supports the idea that a proper single-lens mode exists. Somewhere in the middle of all this, pricing starts telling its own story. Leaks from China suggest the Avata 360 is being positioned quite aggressively by DJI standards. Once regional pricing differences are factored in, especially for the US and Europe, it naturally lands higher, but still within reach for what it's offering, particularly if it truly manages to bridge FPV and 360 capture without forcing major compromises. One of the images also quietly shows a 3-battery charging hub fully loaded, and that detail shouldn't be overlooked. DJI doesn't usually show accessories like that unless they're finalized, and it strongly suggests that Fly More bundles will be available right from launch. When you step back and look at everything together, the frame design, airflow decisions, camera mechanics, controller behavior, pricing structure, and bundled accessories, this doesn't feel like a product that's still being figured out. It feels ready. And once a product feels ready, the question stops being what it is and becomes when it's coming. This is where DJI's broader launch activity suddenly becomes relevant. DJI has officially confirmed its next product launch, the RS5, scheduled for January 15th. That date is locked. While the RS lineup targets a different audience, the timing of that launch matters far beyond gimbals. DJI doesn't launch products randomly. When a launch cycle begins, the first announcement sets the rhythm, reactivates attention, resets the narrative, and clears the runway for what follows. Historically, that first launch is rarely followed by a long silence. It's usually a sequence. RS5 on January 15th marks the start of that sequence, and when you view the Avata 360 through that lens, real images, finalized hardware, locked accessories, and consistent messaging, it fits perfectly as a next-step product. Not months away, not theoretical, just waiting for its slot. What makes this even more interesting is that the Avata 360 isn't the only DJI product showing this late-stage behavior right now. At the same time, the Osmo Pocket 4 has been doing something remarkably similar. Over the last few weeks, we've seen footage that looks far more like official commercial material than typical leaks. The motion is smooth, the framing intentional, and the presentation controlled. These aren't rough prototypes or speculative glimpses. When leaks start looking like marketing, it usually means the big decisions are already locked in. What's especially interesting is how DJI appears to be positioning the Pocket 4 visually. Earlier images focused on rear and angled views, showing larger vents and a heavier-looking upper section, which led many people to assume the Pocket 4 would be significantly bulkier than previous models. Then the front view appeared, and suddenly that narrative shifted. From the front, the body still looks slim and familiar. The grip doesn't balloon into something intimidating. The lower half still looks very much like a pocket camera. The difference shows up higher, in the gimbal head. From the back, it looks chunky. From the front, it looks restrained and balanced. That contrast doesn't feel accidental. It mirrors exactly what we're seeing with the Avata 360. DJI appears to be concentrating capability where it matters most without fundamentally changing how the product feels to use. That strongly suggests the camera system is stacked vertically rather than spread wide, adding depth and height instead of width. It explains why the device looks more substantial from some angles and comfortably familiar from others. The intent feels consistent across products now. DJI doesn't want these tools to feel intimidating. Even as performance increases, usability and approachability remain central. Put all of this together and a clear pattern emerges. RS5 is launching January 15th. Avata 360 looks finished and positioned. Osmo Pocket 4 is leaking like a product already in its marketing phase. These are not isolated events. They're aligned. At this point, It feels less like speculation and more like anticipation. We're no longer waiting for ideas to form or concepts to be proven. We're waiting for announcements. Is this conversation helpful so far?